What do you need to know about building permits in Sarasota County? Well, it turns out these days permits are an important topic, whether you're a home buyer or a home seller. I'm Beverly Bowen with Fine Properties here on the sunny Sarasota Suncoast. Let's explore what you should know. Years ago, people often did work on their homes without obtaining a permit, and it really was not addressed when the home was sold. Nowadays, permit discussions are very much a part of our sales agreement when a home is sold, so it is something that becomes contractual. As a home buyer, you want to make sure any improvements to the home that you're purchasing were done properly and legally. You want to ensure that you will not inherit problems that can haunt you when you go to sell the home. It's best to learn early on if there are any issues, so your dreams for a wonderful new home do not become nightmares. As a home seller, it's again best to anticipate any possible issues as soon as possible. There may be open permits from before you bought the home, or a permit that you know was obtained, but you did not realize that it was never closed out properly. When a home is being sold, we have two main types of sales agreements. One is the as-is residential contract for sale and purchase. In this contract, the seller represents that they have disclosed what they know about permits and that they do not know of any improvements made to the property which were made without required permits or made pursuant to permits which have not been properly closed. If it is determined that there are permits which have not been properly closed or improvements which were not permitted, then the seller agrees to promptly deliver to buyer all plans, written documentation or other information in seller's possession, knowledge, or control relating to improvements to the property which are the subject of such open permits or unpermitted improvements. They agree to cooperate in the closeout of building permits, including executing any necessary documents. However, they are not required to expend any money. The other contract agreement that we commonly use is the residential contract for sale and purchase. In this agreement, the seller makes the same representations in that they have disclosed what they know about permits and that they don't know of any improvements made to the property which were made without required permits or made pursuant to permits which have not been properly closed. The language is the same as for the as-is contract. However, the big difference here is that the seller typically agrees to pay a percentage of the sales price or a fixed dollar amount for costs associated for closing out open or expired permits and obtaining required permits for any existing improvement for which a permit was not obtained. Well, what if the seller did not make the improvements and a previous owner made them? It's still the current owner's obligation to remedy the situation. So it is really important for a buyer to know that the required permits were obtained and actually closed out. If this process is skipped, the buyer will then inherit the problem and will have to face it when he sells. When we're working with buyers and sellers, we try to look for permits early on, so if there is an issue, it can be resolved. Home inspectors and title companies are also looking out for proper permits, but both of these take place later in the transaction and can make it harder to resolve in time to close in the time frame that the parties intended. I've seen situations where a permit was obtained but not closed out. Sometimes, as we dug deeper, we found that the company is no longer in business and or that they did not do the work properly and it did not get approved. These things all need to be addressed in order to close out the permit properly. There's also been situations where a permit was never obtained, and this needs to be worked out as well. Permits are written authorizations by a city or county to construct a project. They ensure the safety of the work and that the work complies with building and zoning codes. You get peace of mind knowing that the job is legal and it's being inspected and is being done properly. So what things actually need a permit? Well, it certainly varies from one jurisdiction to another. So Sarasota County has one set of laws, the City of Venice another, and Northport, Longboat Key, they all have their own. Parts of Sarasota are in the city limit and other parts are in the county. The same holds true for Venice. Some areas are in the city limit and the rest are in the county. Be sure to check the requirements for your jurisdiction. Typically, any electrical, plumbing, air conditioning, additions, window replacement, roofing, sheds, pools, and water heaters will require a permit. Interior and exterior painting, replacing tile floors and carpets, and resurfacing of driveways will usually not require a permit. It is best to check first and be sure. Improvements made without proper permits may have to be torn out, and there can be costly fines. In Sarasota County, if you apply for an after-the-fact permit, the penalty is 3 times the amount of the permit plus the original permit fee. Insurance companies may not cover work or damages caused by work done without proper permits. The good news is, with today's technology, the information for existing permits is typically online. You can see if the permit was pulled, the status of the permit, and confirm that it was closed out. Let us know if we can help you with this, and thanks so very much for watching.